Hey everyone, good morning. We are live for the Daily Drop-In Morning Show with the Teach Better team. You are just getting me this morning, so we are going to have some hopefully great discussion, not only with you of things to consider. I have some ideas, some tips and tricks, and some activities that I want to throw your way related to this week's theme. But also, of course, if you're participating live in the comments, we are absolutely here to support you, brainstorm with you at any point throughout the show as well. We have some good news stories, some holidays, just like normal. And then, of course, because it's Wednesday, we also have some recommendations for you. So please go fill up your coffee, get your cursor or your finger tapping on that comments so we can get this discussion going. And I'll be right back. Morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, January 26th. We are at the very end of this month. I cannot believe it, which means that we have not only a lot to celebrate, but a lot of good discussion to be had. Thank you for the good morning comments already. Continue to have those come in this morning. I know we usually have a guest on Daily Drop-In. Sometimes things happen, scheduling conflicts, technical issues. And so this morning, you just get me. I know that I'm not necessarily as good as bringing in a whole new guest or bringing in a member of the Teach Better team, but it's always fun to be able to start our morning together regardless. So I hope I will do. We have a lot in store for this morning's conversation, and I really, really value the theme today, which is all about this week of building up our authenticity, relating our values, our beliefs, and everything in between to the actions that we're making in the classroom. I've been able to have so many conversations this week alone and in previous weeks around how difficult so many elements of this has been. And so I'm hoping our conversation this morning can be a reset for ourselves, things to consider, and maybe a little bit of a challenge. So as we get started, I thought I'd actually start with an introduction. I know you see me hosting this show quite frequently. I know you're hopefully connecting with many, many, many members of the Teach Better team. But for those of you who may not be familiar, my name is Rae Hewert. I'm currently the CXO and co-owner of the Teach Better team. I have a background in middle level education, and I also am the executive director of a nonprofit called AIMS, which is the Association of Illinois Middle Grade Schools, which means I get to work with all the middle schools across the state of Illinois, in addition to all the schools and districts that are also supportive of the Teach Better team. With my work with the Teach Better team, most of my day-to-day work is focused on what we're doing right here, which is like virtual community support, right? The Teach Better team does a lot of different things, but I think our two core pillars are working with districts, partnering with districts, and providing professional development that aligns with their strategic plan. And then in addition, we also get to foster like this global community of educators that pop in together every morning, interact with each other every day, and come together at the end of the day to reflect on this mindset of being a little bit better today than we were yesterday and a little bit better tomorrow than we were today. For me in my role, I get to do a lot of the community stuff, which I love. I love being able to not only start my morning with you every single morning on Daily Drop-In, or at least the ones that Jeff doesn't steal from me. But then in addition to that, I really enjoy being able to work with our blog team, our podcast network, our speakers network, our mastermind crew, and just continue to foster this incredible community that we have here of educators that are sharing their voice and sharing their ideas and being a part of inviting others into their reflection and being a collaborative partner. Yesterday morning, I was able to host our mastermind session in the morning, which was so fun because you're really just coming together. All these educators kind of hop into a Zoom call. It's a free mastermind that happens every single Tuesday. And there's an AM and a PM session. The PM session was facilitated beautifully by the one and only Brad Hughes. But the AM session that I was able to facilitate really was educators, leaders coming together and talking shop. So regardless of how you're choosing to get involved with the Teach Better team or how the Teach Better team may be able to help amplify the work that you're doing, the things that you're most passionate about, I do appreciate that you are here this morning, and I appreciate my role that so many of you have been able to support and being able to truly just be a part of your journey. I think the team is continuously brainstorming how we can better serve you. And so one of my favorite things that I get to do is be a part of that brainstorming and the execution as well. So good morning to everybody. Thank you for commenting. I know it's bright and early and you're just getting me this morning, but I want to make sure we have as rich of a conversation as humanly possible. I do want to give a shout out to all of you who are experiencing severe weather this morning. If you are not somebody who has checked the weather, this is my little reminder. If it's possible for you to keep this video going and check the weather on the side, maybe using 2 different devices, that would be great. I was looking at the weather this morning and holy moly, it is cold in the Midwest. So we did see a few different schools that were making changes based on that weather. I know obviously we have viewers all across not only the US, but Canada, especially at this early morning time slot. So if you've not checked the weather, just make sure you dress accordingly. Make sure you double check all those pieces. We hope that you are staying warm. And of course, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. So as we get started today, it is Wednesday, January 26th. So typically we would start with our good news section of the day and our holiday section of the day. I thought I'd tap into that a little bit, and then I have an activity that I'd love to start with all of you. So we will be right back. Good morning, everyone. We are going to continue forward with our show this morning, celebrating with some good news and some holidays. It is bright and early on Wednesday, January 26th. So for those of you who are getting ready for your day, good morning, and we're thrilled to be a part of it. We have a number of different good news elements that I wanted to share with you and a number of different holidays. So we will start with that for us today. It is National Peanut Brittle Day. I didn't know that was a day. And I will say I am a peanut fan, but I don't know that I'm a peanut brittle fan. I might have to add that to my plans today to see. I try that out. I don't know all the things that are in. I mean, I know it's like typically like peanuts, almonds, pecans, classic candy. I do know that. So good morning, all of you that are going to be celebrating National Peanut Brittle Day. Also National Spouses Day. Maybe make an extra effort to celebrate your spouse this morning. It is Australia Day, which I'm all about. What a fun place. I'd love to be able to visit. We actually have a number of Teach Better community members, especially in our PM mastermind time slot, which you can read more about at teachbetter.com/mastermind from Australia. So I know I not only want to visit for myself, but also continue to engage with a number of different Teach Better family members in Australia. That's so fun. In addition to that, it's National Green Juice Day. Sign me up. I don't know what we're doing with that. And it's also Indian Republic Day. So lots of fun celebrations out there. In terms of good news, I found this good news story this morning as I was searching through on our hunt. And it was so comical because it had to do again with garbage cans. If you are somebody who had tuned into the show earlier this week, we were talking about this funny article about how a neighbor had asked his neighbor to say, "Hey, can you take out my garbage can?" And then, in obviously some humor, he received all these photos of like him taking his garbage can and actually like taking all these funny photos. Took it through a drive-through. We were able to talk about it a little bit on the show yesterday. I found another article related to garbage cans that was good news this morning. And I do want to kind of like laugh at not only the humor of this being a theme, but truly when winter weather is upon us, sometimes this is the most annoying chore on your to-do list today. So this is an article about a community that had somebody who was bringing in the garbage cans from the end of the curb up to the house, and nobody knew who was doing it, which I think is just so funny because it's always just such a nice feeling when somebody does something for you and you don't necessarily know why it was done, but it was really helpful, or who did it, but it was really helpful. And in this article, it kind of goes through how this community was feeling so appreciative that every single week, garbage cans were not only left at the side of the curb when they were emptied, but also brought up to the house. And who was doing this? Who can we thank? Turns out it was a 75-year-old man that lived in the neighborhood that after the garbage man went through all the homes, walked through the community to bring the trash cans up during this severe weather to ensure that it made people's lives a little bit easier. I know that that is so silly, and how silly is it to be able to talk about garbage cans 2 days in a row. But what a good reminder that sometimes the nicest thing we can do and incorporate into something purposeful into our day is to do something nice for somebody else and maybe not even have them know that we are a part of it. So just a fun, good news story for all of you. We are going to head into our next few elements of our show. I know that it is just me this morning, and our guest has not been able to join us yet. Hopefully that is able to happen soon. Otherwise, we'll make sure to share her contact information so you can connect with her. We know that technical things happen and mornings are kind of crazy. So thank you for those of you who are here this morning with us, even though you're just getting me. We are going to talk about this concept of authenticity headed in next. And I want to share a little course information with you that I thought was really fitting for this dialogue. So we'll be right back. I appreciate all of you in the comments this morning. So good to see you. I know that I've also gotten some messages. I apologize. It's much harder, much more difficult to respond to phone messages and be able to read them when I'm the only one live. So if you were texting me, I will let you know I love you, but I can't read your message right now, and I will read it shortly. Shout out to Alec Valencic in the comments, says, good morning. I'm so excited to start my birthday with all of you. Alex, I am so excited to be one of the first members of the team to wish you a very, very happy birthday. As many of you know, Alex Valencic is a incredible member of our Teach Better family, but he's also a huge member of our ambassador program. For those of you who are not a part of our Teach Better ambassador program, that might be something you might want to consider applying for. I heard a rumor, I heard a rumor that the ambassador program may be opening later this summer. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's a season, right? That's a huge block of time. So if you're somebody who might be interested in the ambassador program, it is such a cool group. It's another way to connect with our Teach Better community. Everyone from teachers to coaches to administrators to district office to superintendents. We have a whole variety in that ambassador crew. There's a mentor program that occurs in that ambassador program. There's exclusive PD, exclusive hangouts, exclusive access to our Teach Better team, as well as a lot of perks for the conference if you're an ambassador. So if you are an active member of the team, this might be a really good option for you. I'm sure Alex, on his birthday, after you say happy birthday, would be happy to elaborate more on how and why he became an ambassador. If you are an ambassador and you're listening, I'd love to hear in your comments kind of why you decided to become an ambassador. I think that that is such a fun opportunity to be able to celebrate all together. I have a little activity I'd love us to start with today. So I'm going to actually bring up an element of our academy here. Just share my screen real quick. As we look at this, this is actually the back end of our academy. It's called Using Social Media to Grow Our Network. This is a course at teachbetteracademy.com. And actually in this course where we are helping educators build their social media, we actually do have a section on kind of identifying who you want to be on your social media profile. Now, I know not all of you are looking to build a social media profile, but as we were looking at our theme this week, I wanted to discuss authenticity not only in our day-to-day experiences, interacting with our students, interacting with our colleagues, but also this connection to an activity that we specifically fostered for social media that is extremely representative of also our ability to interact with colleagues. So in this course, if you're interested, you can head over to teachbetteracademy.com. I have 2 videos I want to share today related to this concept of authenticity. So give me a little bit of grace here as I manipulate a few things. I want to also confirm that you can hear the video. So if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down emoji as we get into it. I'd really appreciate that in the comments. I'm going to click open to part 1. And in this activity, we are looking at how to really be our authentic selves by identifying what our authentic responsibilities, what our authentic things are. You may have heard me speak about this before, but I am going to play 2 videos in our course to get us started. Just keep that conversation thinking about authenticity. So I will be right back. Give me 1 second and we'll get started here.
For this next part, we're going to step away from the profile for a minute, and we're actually going to dive into how your messaging is focused on your mission. I have a little activity for you that I want to do, and I actually do this activity all the time. I just did it with members of the Teach Better team as we ourselves are working to ensure that our profiles are supportive as possible to our network. So here's the activity I want you to try. I want you to create a list of 3 to 5 things that you want your network to know about you. Now, when you say that, I really mean that when they think of your account, no matter what platform it's on, when they think of you popping up in their newsfeed, what should they expect to see? Now, this can be family or pets or ideas, current educational topics you like to talk about, resources, motivation. You decide, but I want you to find 3 to 5 things that you're working through. Now, in the next section, I'm going to talk through a little bit of what I work on, what my focus is. But if you are feeling confident, I'd like you to try and draft out these 3 to 5 things before you move to the next section. But if you're stuck, feel free to go and watch my little evaluation in the next module, and then you can create your list. But don't worry, you're not getting out of this list. 3 to 5 things. I promise I'm not asking you to do an activity that I'm unwilling to do. So I actually did this same activity, this same challenge within my own profile before I assigned it to you. This is not only to help you brainstorm, but also for you to see that this is ever changing and it's something that you truly need to buy into as we get started into evaluating your profile. So as I looked into 3 to 5 things, I actually thought of like 5 things total. And the reason I went to 5 is because I have a lot of little pieces that I wanted to kind of divvy out. So the first thing I noticed is that I do want to share personal things, life updates. You're going to see a lot of my dogs. I have 2 poodles at home. It's just kind of the fun elements of my life that are not work related. The other things you're going to see is like the personalized student support ideas, like mastery learning, community engagement. Those are 2 hot topics in education I feel extremely strongly about. And so I want to make sure that's in my profile. You can expect, if you click on my profile, to see something about mastery learning or community engagement because I'm so passionate about it. The other things you're going to see are outside resources like ideas for teachers or administration tools. I also feel very strongly that we should always be amplifying other voices on our profiles. So, for example, if you connect with me, I'm also going to be encouraging you to connect with other like minded educators that I really like to follow. So, you might connect with me initially, but if you want to look at my profile, I'm going to be encouraging you to connect with Susie and David and Darian, because these are all educators that have impacted me that I also would encourage you to connect with. The last thing is I just kind of added some motivation food for thought. Sometimes that likes to come up on my profile. When I do these 3 to 5 things that I've listed here, I really thought of why these 3 to 5 things are important to me. And it's because of these 4 ideas that I want to come across for my viewers. I want people who visit my network, visit my profile, to believe that I am authentic. I want them to understand that I'm transparent. I also want them to see me as someone who amplifies others' voices and is really a solution minded person. I'm not necessarily the best profile to click on if you're looking to vent about your day, because my go to naturally is going to be to lend perspective and try and find a solution. That's just who I am. And so, as you continue to build your network, every single person is going to bring in different elements of benefiting what you are needing. And so I really want these 4 ideas: solution seeking, authentic, transparent. I want that to be the reputation that I carry. And so, therefore, within the 5 sections of posting ideas that you might see from me, I think those ideas are going to resonate pretty well. Now, if you haven't done your own analysis of 3 to 5 things that you want people to connect with when they visit your profile, please do that now. Or if you want to change anything, you're more than welcome. You are absolutely always willing and able to cross things out and change as you go. But it's really important that you identify these pieces before we move forward so that we can actually dive into how those ideas are communicated.
Morning, everyone. We are going to continue with our conversation here. We have our incredible guest, Selena, with us as well. She just needs to unmute herself, Selena, if you don't mind. That activity that we got started with is going to be a hot topic for our discussion this morning as we get into authenticity. But before we dive into those 3 to 5 things, Selena, I'd love to have you introduce yourself. It's so good to see you bright and early this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am Selena Carrion. I am a elementary school teacher. And middle school. I taught ELA, English as a second language, a whole bunch of things. And then also I'm a media library specialist as well. And now I am still working in education, but this is my first year where I'm also doing curriculum writing and instructional design. So that's really exciting.
Awesome. Well, I'm thrilled that you're able to join us. Obviously, it's Wednesday, January 26th. I've been looking forward to this because we were messaging a little bit on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I love that you are supporting a community. You are constantly sharing with educators. And I think it goes so well with this week's theme, which is aligning our beliefs and our values to our actions. You come across as extremely authentic and genuine in your social media. And so I'm so thrilled to be able to meet you in person, bring you to the Teach Better family to be able to highlight the work you do. I know that we're connected on Instagram. Can you tell me a little bit about what you like to share on that social media profile and how that kind of relates to being authentic?
Yeah, I think that, through like Instagram is interesting because I'm still getting the hang of it just because it's such a visual medium, I feel like. And but I which kind of helps in terms of being authentic and kind of thinking about like what images are you putting out there? And then also just how you shape your profile. I think I try to keep my Instagram profile really like simple. I'm a parent. I'm just an educator. I like to advocate for children education, for children's health issues. So it's like that's kind of just me. And then the stuff that I like to kind of share out or just what other people are doing in education, what I'm up to, if I'm giving like a talk or something like that, or a speaking session. So I try to make it as relevant to what I care about and what I know other educators will care about as well.
Well, and Selena, I really appreciate you kind of just went through some bullet points of things that you value, things that you care about, and things that people can expect to see on your social media profile. It's funny, when we created this theme of the week, it really had nothing to do with social media, but because we connected on social media and because that activity that we were able to share in the Teach Better Academy was focused on social media, I think there's so many similarities between some of the things that we can set ourselves up for success for example, like a medium like social media that actually work really well in our day-to-day lives too. Some of the core values that you just shared in your bulleted list are things that you also want people to gather from you and see and experience from you in your, day-to-day life, real life as well. When I talk about authenticity and bringing that into your classroom, what does that mean to you as an educator?
Oh man, my father was an educator for a very long time. So he always used to give me this advice when I was an early teacher. And used to just be like, okay, but then I really saw it as I kind of continued in my career. But he always used to say that children can just smell like whether you're authentic or not. Like they just know it. And unlike, adults who kind of may, as they get older, kind of lose that capacity, like sense is this person really being themselves or not. He always used to say, children will get it. So just be yourself, be authentic. And the more that you are, like the more they're going to connect with you, regardless of who they are. And I think he was right. I think the more authentic I was in my career, and definitely when you're starting out, especially like in grad school, you come in, you're out of school, and you just really, you want to follow, I think, these tropes of what it's like to be a teacher, and you're kind of usually a little bit more stuffy and a little bit more serious. And I think a lot of that kind of comes from fear, of failing and not doing a good job. But I kind of fell into that a little bit. But the moment I kind of was able to kind of take off that armor, I realized, oh, wow, like the children really do connect to it, that they want to see the real you, and they feel comfortable. I think they feel safer when they know this is someone who's being authentically themselves, and they're able to be authentically themselves then too.
I know that was such a perfect example and walkthrough of authenticity. I remember early in my career trying to fit into a teacher mold, right? Like so many of us, even in the comments, I see people coming in agreeing with us and saying good morning as they continue to pop in. We all kind of had this vision of what a teacher was. And so when we went into that first job interview or showed up on the first day of school, we put on our teacher clothes and we showed up as our version of ourselves as the teacher we thought we had to fit into. And we kind of went about this space. And it's so interesting because we carry a lot of weight then of this expectation of what we should look like, of this expectation of what we should value. And I love your reflection of how that evolves over time, how we kind of lose that armor and really look at who we are as people and how we can best serve our students within that role. Have you made like the typical teacher mistake where you did something because you felt like you were supposed to fit into this mold and then realized maybe after the fact didn't really align with what you cared most about, or didn't really align with your values?
Yeah, definitely. There's one time that stands out to me, and it's funny because I shared this story on social media, and it really resonated with people, and they were like, "Me too." And I was actually shocked by the like the positive response, but and I think Edutopia ended up like retweeting it themselves also because they really liked it. But when I was an early teacher, I remember somebody had given me advice, like an older teacher who basically said, like, don't smile, like until, like December or something. Like it was this weird cutoff. And they were just like, be very, very serious. If you're too nice, if you smile, if you laugh too much in the beginning, that the kids are gonna like lose respect for you. And this is my first year and I did that. And I remember like later on in the spring, like when I started really like just breaking out of my shell and just being myself, one of my students, Emily, who I had her for several years after we looped up together, and she was just like, Miss Carrion, I cannot believe like you're smiling. And she was like shocked. She was like, but and like she was freaking out. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're just joking with us. It was one day I was just like joking and chatting with them on a field trip. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you never used to act like this. Like now all of a sudden, like, and she like pinpoints at like the change. And I was just so surprised that she was so in tuned. And I felt terrible too. I was just like, oh my God. And they were like, we really like this side of you. They were just really like adamant, like, please do more of this. And I did. And yeah, I so for any young teacher, I hope that they never take advice like that because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I love that example. You have a lot of people in the comments agreeing with you that they all have heard that like rumor at the beginning of the school year, don't smile until Christmas, or we've fallen into like how we should dress being the what we should follow. Alex is joking around that he just is a slacks and tie guy and it is what it is. And he was trying to dress casually, maybe to match his counterparts, but he's like, no, this is who I am. I like to dress this way. And our dress, our feelings, our smiles, our demeanor really does allow our students to build relationships. And as we ask them to share their authentic selves with us so that we can better serve them as like facilitators of learning, we need to provide them with such a similar mentality, which is just so funny to think about. I remember all those moments, and hopefully we don't make those mistakes too frequently, but sometimes when we show up with this expectation of what we should be and we don't authentically represent our beliefs, it doesn't usually turn out very well.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking through kind of like your day to day, even or like your day to day actions, maybe it is truly your day to day. How do you think authenticity plays a role in the choices and decisions you make for students?
Yeah, I think that the more authentic that you are, you really are able to, I think, have a better sense of what the right choices um, are to be made in terms of what's best for students. I think because essentially I just feel like the more in tune you are with yourself, like as a person, as a human, as a teacher, I think, and the more comfortable you are with that, it's just easier to be more in tune with what the students' needs are and what's best for them in that sense, and how you can make the right choices as a teacher throughout the day. And it's also better able, you make better relationships as well with your colleagues, with your administration. Like it just ripples out, I think, in all the
You know,
choices that you make.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We challenged our community on Monday, and obviously we were able to show a few clips of it today for them to really identify like 3 to 5 things that represent who they are. I love that you've been able to share so many examples just through your reflection and your answers thus far of who are we as educators and how can we ensure that that is kind of at the forefront of how we are representing ourselves and making decisions. We challenged our community to even like write it on a post-it, right? And put it up on the top of your laptop to remind yourself, like,
Mhm.
I am a solution seeking educator. So I'm not going to fall into this negative headspace and, not be somebody who's always brainstorming to find the right solution. I'm going to, continue to dedicate myself to those 3 to 5 things. With the things that you're passionate about, I know you listed a few earlier. What do you think is like your soapbox moment? Like if you had anything that you wanted to communicate to teachers, if you had anything that you could really emphasize as something you hope that everybody maybe goes to choose and explore, maybe they'll learn about it on your profile, but something that you're really really passionate about as a teacher, what would that be?
Yeah, that's such a great question. If I can, I guess, sum it up in one way, is I really feel like education is just a means of bringing people together, and it's just such a strong vehicle to really like connect. And I think that that starts like with you as a teacher and what you bring into the classroom. So if you can bring in just yourself and like compassion and kindness and care and respect and openness, I think like that, just those values ripple out to students, and I think it can make just a real impact on the world as they go out and interact with their community, with their families as they get older. um, I think that education really just can be a way of just, yeah, just helping, you know like just nurture better humans, I guess.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and Selena, being able to follow you for so long on Instagram, and I know that you're on other social media platforms and continuously sharing. I know something that you're passionate about, especially related to curriculum, like you had mentioned, is like bringing creativity into the classroom. And I'd love to have you speak about the work that you're passionate about, if you don't mind, for a moment here.
Yeah, I really love just I a lot of just, I guess, different teaching practices, but just anything having to do with project-based learning or inquiry methods, or um, just like culturally sustaining and responsive pedagogy, trauma-informed approaches. Like I like to do a little bit of everything in a sense. And I'm a little bit of like a jack of all trades in that sense. But I think that with any of those kind of like teaching methods or practices, it's a lot about like, I guess, student centered and student led practices, like where students are able to really engage with the topics they're passionate about. They're able to be creative in the way that they share their knowledge and collaborate with one another. I really love doing stuff like that. And I feel like my classroom, I think of it as a little bit of a like a lab space in a sense, and where people can, the kids can really like share and create and learn without it being too formal or too rigid or too serious, and really get a sense of like, it's okay to fail, it's okay to take risks. Like this is a place where we can all experiment. And I try to be really authentic and transparent with them if like something I taught a lesson or decided to do something and I'm like, well, that didn't really go over well. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I am super transparent like about why I'm doing things or why, and like that's super appreciated by the kids. So that's something, yeah, that I definitely am passionate about in terms of my teaching.
So important. I know we're having a weird interview this morning. I'm so appreciative that you're able to pop into Daily Drop In and share some of this insight, because I know our community is going to be eager to connect with you and continue to learn. We always say that Daily Drop In's like one conversation, but not the last conversation. So with all these things you're passionate about, you just said like 15 buzzwords. We are all about so many of those topics that you were able to share on. I'd love to encourage our community here to go connect with, obviously, you, of course, because I'm a huge fan of following you on social media. I hope they do too. But with the work that you're trying to put out into the world and support educators with, how can they learn more about these topics? Or do you have a website or a space that you like to direct educators that are eager to learn more?
Yeah, I am actually getting ready to launch my own personal website. So definitely be on the the lookout for that, and that'll have a lot of like, because I do a lot of writing for different education magazines and online newspapers and just other publications. So that I guess be on the lookout for that for that.
That'll be so good. Friends, I can't wait to share that with you. And Selena, I hope that you direct message me the URL once it's all up and running. I'd love to be able to highlight it again on the show and be able to share it out to our community so they can see other ways to connect with you, in addition to obviously following you on social media. We have one more thing we need to do here on this Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we love to provide recommendations of things that people can continue to go and explore, maybe related to staying authentic as an educator, but also maybe related to things that you've been able to share so far that you're so passionate about, Selena. So we'll be right back here to be able to share those recommendations, but I'm going to have you thinking about what you might want to recommend to the community here while this commercial plays. All right, friends, we are wrapping up our weird daily drop-in show, but thank goodness we were able to get back on track and be able to provide you with a little bit of things to think about this morning as you head into Wednesday, January 26th. I'd love to throw that question back at you as we were talking about recommendations we love. We love for recommendations we love on Wednesdays to be either tied to the theme that we're focusing on, like really representing ourselves well, maybe something that has helped you personally do that you'd love to recommend to other educators, or something that you're really passionate about that could be an opportunity for educators to go explore and learn more about something you really feel like needs to be a focus here in education. What would be your go-to resource as something they can look into?
That's such a good question. So many come to mind. I guess what comes to mind for me is just there's so many great organizations that are, I think, popping up, and teachers that are really like starting their own orgs or blogs. So someone like Nick Covington, he's a teacher in Iowa, like, and he has something with another educator called Humanizing Pedagogy. Like, I definitely think tune into them and the work that they're doing. I think it's really great. Alex Shervin-Vinette, she's a teacher from Vermont, and she does a lot of work around trauma-informed education. And she just released a book that's really, really incredible and just a great, like, yeah, please, I would check that out too. And Dina Simmons just launched an org called Liberated, and it's all about culturally responsive, sustaining pedagogy. And I would also check that out. She releases like poems and lessons and things that you can do that are really like attached more to ELA. So yeah, those would be my recs if people want to learn more about just the stuff that I'm also passionate about.
I love it. I so appreciate you providing those. It's always good to provide an abundance of resources. Everybody in our community can go find those resources, learn more about them, and hopefully dive further in their exploration in those topics. Just as a side note, for those of you who are here with us this morning, we also have a few more recommendations for you of things to specifically look into if you're looking to do some reflection on how you are representing your authentic self. So Selena, really quick, I'm going to go through these. I know some of them seem random, but I actually have a reason for all of these. One is a book by a member of our Teach Better team, Joshua Stamper. We call him actually Joshua _ Stamper because that's actually his Twitter handle. But he is doing such incredible things with leadership. I was able to facilitate a admin mastermind yesterday with the Teach Better team. And it was actually a huge theme, both in the AM session and the PM session, of where administrators can be fostering their personal reflection to plan where they want to go professionally in their careers and also to best serve their communities. I love this book because I think this book really has intentional reflection moments for whether you are currently holding a leadership role or you just consider yourself a leader as a person, to think about where you want to take that leadership, how you want to move forward. It is specifically called Aspire to Lead, meaning that whether you are leading right now or not, this aspiration to be a successful leader, this is a really good opportunity to kind of double check how you are doing that authentically to best represent yourself, if that's the lens that you want to see that through. The other one I know is silly. Teachers Deserve It. I know that we reference these books all the time. Obviously, this was written back in 2020. The reason I bring this up, and I really wasn't sure that I wanted to, but the reason I think it's worth discussing is because in here, there is a section that gets referred to all the time that is about today's best. And today's best is this focus that no matter how your day is going, both for yourself and for your students, you can give your best, and your best may not be 100%. Your best may be 40% of yourself because you're really, really, really struggling with something. But that 40% really does still represent your best, and you can still provide it to the people around you. I'd love to be able to challenge you to check out Teachers Deserve It if you're looking to reflect on some authentic practices to ensure that you are bringing your best self at any point in time. If you're looking for that emotional connection, that might be a good read for you. And last but not least, as many of you know, we are huge fans here of the Teach Better team of Thomas C. Murray. He's an incredible educator that is doing a lot of work right now. And his recent book, Personal and Authentic, is a great read for somebody who's thinking through a lot of these pieces. The subtitle here is Designing Learning Experiences That Impact a Lifetime. This is a very reflective book, but also has a number of different strategies in it for you to consider, for you to continue to pursue great things as an educator. So lots of recommendations this morning, Selena. I so appreciate you being able to provide those with our network this morning. One last time, do you mind sharing out how people can stay connected to you? Because I know we only got like a smidgen of your time today, and I want them to know that this is only the beginning, staying connected to not only the work you're doing on social media, but when that website launches, I want them to make sure they connect with you there too.
Yeah, it's definitely, I try to keep it simple and easy. So it's at Selena Carry On EDU at Instagram, and then at Selena Carry On Twitter. And then my website will be, I think, www.selenacarryon.com. So simple.
Make it easy for us. Well, Selena,
Yeah.
we're going to stay right here, but we are going to say goodbye to our community. So thank you to everybody who's able to join us this morning. We appreciate your comments. Please stay warm as you head into Wednesday, January 26th. And of course, if you need anything, Selena and I are always here to help out. So please continue to connect and foster those relationships. We hope you have an incredible Wednesday, friends. Enjoy your last sip of coffee, and we will see you later.